Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is FunBelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the FunBelt podcast.
This is the FunBelt podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howl Razor, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
We're back. Well, not all of us are back. If you look at the troika of Dusty, Jeremy, and Shane, it's only Dusty and Jeremy tonight. From what I understand, Tibbs, Shane dealing with sick kids. Have you ever had sick kids?
Yeah. I used to travel a lot early on in my career. My wife joked that she had to stock up on some Pedialyte every time I was getting ready to go out of town because the wrath was a-coming.
Wait, you would bring the illness, or when you left, the illness would come?
When I left, the illness would slip in the back door and impact them all.
It sounds to me like you would get out of town just in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had two small kids, I had two sons. They get sick, it's a pain in the butt. It brings down the whole house. So Shane, we hope the children get better, and we're thinking of you. We're rooting for you in these dark and desperate times. We hope that it's our support that sustains you in your time of need.
But Jeremy, just to peek behind the curtain, just remember the initial conversation with him on doing this episode.
Yeah,
his initial response was, well, James Madison is going to be playing at that time.
Yeah. So maybe what he has done is orchestrated like some kind of, or maybe manufactured some kind of maybe more sympathetic reason to avoid the recording. You think that could be it?
He just doesn't like us.
Of course he likes us. Who's Shane Metlin without us? Just a professional star reporter for the Daily News Record. That's all he's got. But we're here. We're gonna rap about the Sun Belt a little bit. Speaking of rapping, Tibbs, the Sun Belt basketball season is kind of wrapping up. Well, we got 4 more games left. There's games on tonight.
Games on tonight, so technically 3 left.
Okay, all right. Which means that people are kind of getting ready, jockeying position for their time at the beach, Pensacola, with our incredibly wild tournament bracket, the arrow-shaped bracket, the arrowhead-shaped bracket.
Stairway to hell if you're the bottom seeds.
Okay. Yeah. I tell you what, though, there's sort of I call it the Diggstown bracket, where, remember in Diggstown, Lou Gossett Jr. had to fight like 14 town toughs in the span of 24 hours? This bracket is like, if you are a ULM Monroe or a Georgia State, or maybe even the Cajuns, you're going to have to fight to get to the top.
There's the cheers for my bottom dweller brethren there. Yeah, it's look, I'm not saying that it can't be done, but if you're playing on, what is it, the Tuesday that I think the tournament starts on, that's a long time to be in Pensacola because you're there until Monday for Championship Monday. Yeah. That's a lot of time away and a lot of back-to-back games.
It's a lot of crap.
Right. Well, forget the whole student athlete part. It doesn't matter as long as you cash the NIL check. But wasn't it last year that it was Old Dominion that made it, 3 days in?
Yeah.
So halfway there.
Yeah, I think that I remember last year. I can't remember exactly how it shook out, but some of the top seed guys didn't perform too well. And I think there's also something to be said about having to wait a while. Like almost you want to be sort of in the middle, right? Where you get some of the warm-up games and the team, kind of figures out the court a little bit and they get back into the groove. You sort of want them to sort of be, soft launched into the tournament, not suddenly having to play one of the top teams in the conference, right?
Yeah, I mean, we saw that at South Alabama where they were sitting there waiting on Sunday, just one game, and then they're in the championship, and then they were packing up, headed back to Mobile.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I remember asking Coach Hodgson about that before he left for South Florida. And, he said, yes, there is something to be said for, having the tune-up games before the big games, that it does sharpen your team. But he said, honestly, though, I'd much rather just have all the buys. So, Tibbs, first of all, looking at our standings, it is crowded. It is packed. It's like a Pringles can of Sunbelt teams. I mean, it is just stacked. There's not really one team that's really standing out right now. Yeah, we'll have a 1 and 2 team, but there's going to be a lot of other guys vying for that 3rd and 4th seed. Tibbs, why don't you walk us through if the season were to end today, how would that Arrowhead bracket look?
So you have tipping off the 13-12 game, which is Mike Jones against Quantus White, 2 kind of legends of the game there going head to head. That being Old Dominion and Louisiana Lafayette.
Okay.
Nightcap, Georgia State, and your Fighting Warhawks of ULM.
I love the Warhawks. Yeah.
Winners of that first game would advance to play Southern Miss. Winners of game 2 would play James Madison.
Ooh, okay. That's dangerous. James Madison, disappointing, but still very dangerous this year.
On what I'll call the top side of the bracket, you then have Georgia Southern, bottom side, Arkansas State.
Okay. All right. My Arkansas State Red Wolves. All right.
Texas State,
all right.
Then Coastal Carolina on the other side.
All right. Wow.
And I will say this, Jeremy, they may not win the regular season trophy, but those Bobcats are playing good. Winners of 6 straight coming into the Thursday night, 8 and 2 over their last 10. They're clicking. And this is the time where it really matters that your team is playing really well.
Yeah, I saw the Bobcats in person when they came to Jonesboro. And Arkansas State just barely won that game. I think they won in the last few seconds. And it actually started a sort of downfall of Arkansas State. They ended up losing 5 of 6 after that. And it jump-started the Bobcats. They seem to finally had figured something out. They've got a couple bigs that are hard to defend and can get under the basket and get not only rebounds but layups. And they got a couple outside shooters too. So the Bobcats are a team that, because they're on their way out, we don't really care about them. But they could be a team that could create some problems, Tibbs.
Very much so. Just like as we're recording this, ULM with a 4-point lead. The next team that would be up in that top bracket, that would be the Troy Trojans.
Yeah. Troy having some trouble lately.
So
lost
just
in a row. Yeah.
And what's crazy is just when we kind of talk about this bracket and how, okay, here's this team, they're going to be this seed, that seed, this. You're going to see ULM jump up and bite somebody and throw everything more into chaos, which, I mean, I love the chaos, but that's just how fragile this is down the stretch.
Yeah, and that's kind of what the entropy in the Sun Belt's all about. It's that Anybody could win this tournament. Even Monroe, which let's say that we talked a little bit off camera. Monroe has talent. Monroe has some guys, right? They just don't have depth. We've seen Monroe do really well in the first half of a basketball game, only to kind of fall apart, right? Because they just don't have the bandwidth to keep up with some of these other teams. But they can still put a hurt on some guys. And then you look at the top of the conference, you got Appalachian State, which I think they have some weaknesses. South Alabama, they can be beat, even after witnessing South Alabama coming down from 18 with 6 minutes left to come beat Arkansas State in Jonesboro. I will say that you can beat South Alabama. So there is no lock. I felt like last year, Tibbs, the top 4 teams going in were very strong. This year, I don't feel that way.
Yeah, and to me, the one that I'm really interested about down the stretch is going to be Marshall. Ooh. They're currently sitting right there at the Saturday buys.
Okay.
But check this out, Jeremy.
All right.
At home this season, the Thunder and Herd are 12-3.
Ooh.
Out of their last 4 games of the season, it's a split. 2 home, 2 away, with a head-to-head against number 1 App State.
Oh,
I think Marshall might be able to sneak one on the road and keep that high winning percentage at home. You might see them maybe getting the big trophy from Commissioner Keith Gill.
Now, Tibbs, what do you think, though, about a team that performs well at home? They go to a tournament that's clearly a neutral site. And they're also a team that doesn't do well on the road. Does that make a difference? I mean, technically, you're on the road on a neutral site.
I think it is maybe a slight difference, but at the same time, you know what you're playing for. You're playing for that 15, 14, 13 seed, or hell, even a trip to Dayton if it's the wrong team of the conference, so to say, that wins. But you know exactly what you're playing for. And that's what you've been working towards this whole season. And so I think whether you're a good road team or a bad road team, a good neutral site, bad neutral site, good home, bad home, whatever, when you get to Pensacola, you know exactly what you're playing for. And I think that negates anything that the stats really kind of throw out there.
Yeah, we're talking about how tight it is for the men. Just kind of from top to bottom. But another tight race isn't necessarily top to bottom for the women. There's definitely a penthouse of teams and then a lower level of teams. But there are 5 teams battling out for first place right now amongst the women that are 1.5 games or fewer out of first place. James Madison, Arkansas State, Marshall, Georgia Southern, and Troy both tied. That's an interesting race to watch.
It is. And I think that we've kind of settled on what that bottom half is going to be. You could see some jockeying for position. Maybe somebody goes from a 7 to a 5 or something like that. But for the most part, I think that lower half is. But you're right. It's very much the double-digit winning teams of James Madison, Arkansas State, Marshall, Georgia Southern, Troy. You could say Texas State, Old Dominion, Southern Miss, ULM Coastal in that 6-7. Hey, yeah. I didn't mean to say that. Winning range.
Uh-huh.
And then to me, it's kind of that lower tier of Georgia State, App, South Alabama, and the Cajuns. It really is a 3-tier system. But I think those teams in the middle are the ones that are going to be the better ones when it comes down to Pensacola.
Oh, go ahead. Explain more.
They're the ones that are battle tested. They're the ones that actually have good records on the road. They're the ones that have the better records for the neutral site games.
Mm-hmm.
I think that will play a little bit of a factor for them, even though they know as well that they're battling for probably that one bid that the league is going to get.
Yeah, so amongst the top 5, Troy and Georgia Southern are just kind of two different types of teams. Troy, kind of a big inside present. Georgia Southern, more of runners and gunners, kind of like Arkansas State. Marshall, I'm not sure. I don't know if I have a finger on Marshall yet. James Madison, also just a big team, big women in the underneath the basket that can get rebounds, but also can shoot the three. I think this is 5 really good teams to watch. And then you kind of putting a shine and a polish on this middle half makes me think that this might be a really good tournament.
I definitely think the women's bracket will be better than the men's because I feel like there's only 4 teams maybe on the men's side that are really going to be competitive for that championship game.
Yeah.
The women, I think outside of kind of that lower tier, Georgia State down, any of the other teams can win. So we're talking about a 10-team race that you could see in Pensacola for the women's bracket.
Now, do you think there is a team best suited to go to the NCAA tournament for either the men or the women? Like if you're looking at it as a business decision, Tibbs, looking at the bottom line, if your CFO, Commissioner Gill, is looking at this and goes, I really want this team to win, which teams do you think Commissioner Gill would prefer represent the Sun Belt in the respective tournaments?
Well, I'm looking up the resumes real quick.
Okay.
Since you put me on the spot for it.
Yeah, I did. We didn't prepare for this question. I just threw it out there.
I got to think that it's got to be either Arkansas State or Troy. I think Arkansas State has maybe some bigger wins when they went to the Bahamas and got that win, especially over U of H.
Yeah, that was a good one.
They have some good RPI showings. I know there's no such thing as the moral victory, but having a pretty good showing there against Missouri was really good. Yeah. I don't like, though, that Arkansas State not really able to get the clean sweep and help us on the SBC MAC Challenge.
That was disappointing. I tried not to be disappointed by that, but then you think that Arkansas State's on this roll, and it really kind of threw them for a loop. Ended up losing 2 conference games in a row after that. So yeah, but Arkansas State also beat Arkansas. That's another kind of marquee win, not maybe necessarily in the basketball world, but is a power, 2 win or whatever power you want to call it. Arkansas State would be good. I also think that I don't think he would mind if JMU somehow got in there too. JMU, kind of that hot brand that's sort of well known amongst many sports fans now. I wouldn't be surprised. What about the men?
On the men's side, I think that you really got to look at getting South Alabama in, just because what Richie Riley's done here in his tenure leading the Jags has been phenomenal. Sure, we give them grief for losing to Mobile, for breaking our hearts on games that they should have been more competitive in, but overall, the full body of work, I feel like that's the team that goes in. They have the it factor of almost like the McNeese last year in the NCAA tournament, where they kind of have the hype guy with the boom box. They have the players that are out to prove themselves and move on to the P4. So I feel like that's the team that you really got to push for.
Yeah, I think they have a good combo of players too. Like you got Chase Harris, who if I could be wrong, I think he's leading the entire league in points per game. He can light it up. And you also have this Adam Olson, this big forward that can hit the three-pointer. He was just draining three-pointers against Arkansas State like it was the easiest thing in the world. And a lot of people kind of forget about John Broome. I mean, that guy was an amazing player last season. he's sort of almost an afterthought on this team. He's sort of like just a piece. So you might be right about that, Tibbs. South Alabama might be the team best suited to be a NCAA team from the Sun Belt, even though we have to admit that the Sun Belt this year is a little light on basketball skills.
More importantly than being on the hardwood, Jeremy, it's bat pinging season. And it is baseball, baseball.
No. That's the second and short gong. You can't do that.
Baseball.
Okay. We need a baseball gong, like the crack of a bat, or like I don't know. Oh, okay, all right. Maybe an explosion that works.
All right.
Well, we'll just play with that. Yeah, baseball season has started. I know my Arkansas State Red Wolves pulled off the sweep of the Seahawks of Stony Brook, which I chuckled, but Stony Brook, it doesn't have a bad baseball history. Actually, they're pretty good. Went to the College World Series in 2012. And for the most part, everybody seemed to kind of get a pretty good weekend going, except maybe Troy.
Yeah, they took a whooping from Mercer, the Bears.
They'll do that.
Remember, Jeremy, we always said that Mercer was the Sun Belt killer for basketball.
Yes.
It looks like it's extended to baseball as well. But as much as Troy took a whooping, they gave a whooping also to the Bears. But yeah, unable to really live up to that top 25 hype that they had coming into the season.
Yeah.
As much as it hurts to see that happen this early in the season, I don't take too much out of these early season games because while Fluky from Coastal Carolina is going to be on and probably a first round draft pick, a lot of teams don't really know what they have. They have a good idea from fall ball and that winter ball, but they don't know what they have until maybe another week or so into the season.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like last year I was looking at early baseball results and thinking, man, the Sun Belt is not as advertised. These guys, they're not winning big games. They're not winning a bunch of series, and then they start rolling as the season went on. And you saw Southern Miss and Coastal Carolina and some of the other teams actually, holding their own and showing some dominance. But we have to admit that Tuesday's round of games or midweek games, some opportunities missed, Tibbs.
Yeah, your national runner-up lost to College of Charleston. But once again, those Carolina schools in that area are absolutely crazy. I had never heard of Winthrop until they came to Auburn.
Yeah.
When I was still hanging around the plains there. Came in, beat a top 10 Auburn team like 2-1 because they had a lefty that was a phenomenal pitcher.
Yeah.
That was on a Tuesday. The Wednesday, I think Auburn beat them, I don't know, like 50-0. I mean, it was, a complete domination of the game.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what you see in that midweek is those type of programs are going to throw their ace so they can kind of notch that in the recruitment and help their RPI if they're on the border later on in the year. Hey, we beat Coastal Carolina. We beat this team. We beat that team. Does it mean that they really are that much better than Coastal Carolina or LSU or whoever? No, they were better on that Tuesday against them.
Yeah, and that happens a lot in baseball. For instance, Arkansas State played Ole Miss very tight. Ended up losing in the last inning or so, 7-6. But no one's going to say that Arkansas State is in the same class as Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a top 25 team, and they've got $1 million players on that team. That's just not going to happen. It was good to see, though, Tibbs, to see Louisiana, your hated Cajuns, get their revenge on Rice.
Yeah, they couldn't get it done in football, but got the shutout. They kicked the field goal 3-0 over Rice.
Yeah.
I think that's a big name win. I don't think Rice is the same Rice of old that was, consistently going to Omaha and super regionals, but still a good win for them that they were able to go on the road to Houston and pick that up against Rice. A 3-0 win. Rice picked 7th in the preseason American poll. Does that mean anything? No, but I think if you would have beat East Carolina, maybe a little bit more impressive. I know I'm kind of saying both sides of the fence there. It's impressive, not impressive. But I still feel like this early on, most teams don't know really what they have. I mean, you look at even ULM, they're sitting at 2-3, splitting with the Sugar Bears of Central Arkansas, fell to Northwestern State. They got exposed. They have some pitching struggles that I've kind of seen a little bit there from fall ball and such, and it came out. Still plenty of time to work on it and get to it, because really at the end of the day, the games don't matter right now until you get to Sun Belt Conference action.
See, here's my thought on playing like big money teams like an Ole Miss, or even a Rice probably has some money. I think Mississippi State played Southern Miss, and I think Southern Miss lost. It seems to me that the differences between these types of programs, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you've got your fingers on this pulse more than I do. You can kind of match starting pitchers. You can put up good starting pitchers, and you can put up hitting too. Like the hitting can be equal. It's the mid-inning and late inning arms that seem to collapse for schools that don't have as many resources as others. Like I've noticed that with Arkansas State, even playing Stony Brook, is that the starting pitching is strong, but once you start digging into that bullpen, it's a little risky.
I think it's that, and also the bigger like P4 schools. And I say P4, I'm going to kind of lump in Coastal Carolina and, those fringe P4 programs there. They have smarter players. And I mean more like they've played more and more high-level baseball to know kind of instinctively what to do in different situations. Whereas a ULM Arkansas State might have a guy that was pretty good at JUCO. He's a pretty smart kid, definitely book smart and all that. But he just doesn't maybe react as quick as you would want in certain situations that are critical to a game.
Yeah, case in point, Arkansas State trying to maintain its lead. I think it was up by 1 against Ole Miss. The batter for Ole Miss lays down a bunt. Pitcher runs to get it, ends up on his butt. And I'm not saying, that can happen to anyone, but you're like, or also Arkansas State ended up walking in the tying run, which to me is quintessential college baseball right there, walking in a run. There's only one more quintessential way to score in college baseball. Tibbs, can you make a guess at what that is?
Walk-off hit batter?
No. That should have been it, though.
Or a walk-off, balk-off?
The balk off. Wow. No, I was thinking the wild pitch score, from third base. That seems to happen a lot too.
I saw like I don't know, it was maybe like a D3 game where there was a wild pitch. Runner comes in, the catcher didn't even move. He was just like, that's it. It's done. It got past me.
Poor D3 guy. When you're playing D3 baseball, that's like I don't know if you do that for the love of the game, or does it become kind of a chore? Like, God, I gotta get this credit here.
I don't know, but something I learned that I guess I knew, but I didn't really kind of put the two together. LSU Shreveport made their magical run last year, 56-0 in the NAIA ranks.
Yeah.
I had forgotten NAIA has no real rules. So, Jeremy, if you still have eligibility, you could go play at LSUS.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe I'll enroll.
Yeah. It was kind of wild that, like, somebody came out, like, the average age on that team was, like, 22, 23 years old. And, they're playing against 18, 19-year-old kids in a lot of instances.
That's hilarious, man. I was raking leaves today and it exhausted me. So I don't think I'll be out playing competitive college baseball anytime soon. But speaking of competitiveness, Tibbs, have you been watching the Winter Olympics?
Not in the least bit, but I do absolutely love.
Uh-huh.
I love curling. I
Yeah.
have, and yes, I have actually curled before.
Oh, I did not know that about you.
And I love that Canada is in all kind of trouble for double touching the rock.
You can't double touch the rock. I mean, just like in society, you can't double touch somebody's rocks. And you can't do that when you're playing curling. How about, I like the weird, curling to me is a weird winter sport. I like the other weird ones, like the double skeleton, where it's just two dudes on top of each other flying down like a luge track. Tell me you don't like the double skeleton.
I feel like that's like the little brother, big brother of, and maybe the kid next door, and you're like, hey, y'all two, get on here. I'm going to push you down this hill.
I don't know. They were kind of I was watching skeleton, just the single. It's women's single skeleton, and one of the women who was in there, it was like, yeah, she used to be a professional bodybuilder, and now she's in the Olympics doing the skeleton. I was like, how do you make that? How does that transition happen? I mean, do you just one day just walk by the luge track on your way to yoga and go, I could do that. I'd like to try that. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have no idea how you get into it.
The other sport I like that's kind of weird is the biathlon, the cross country skiing combined with rifle shooting. Do you ever watch that?
No, but I know that Georgia Southern has a pretty good rifle shooting team.
Oh, well, they need to learn to ski. They might be able to be in the biathlon. I love the biathlon, and the reason why I like it is because I can see why that would be a tough competition, because you're sitting there, you're out of breath, you're going cross-country skiing, right? You got to stop, calm your nerves, keep your hands from shaking, and hit a target 10 times. That's nuts.
It's nothing that a good, well-oiled Olympic athlete should be able to do, Jeremy.
They make it look easy. I'll give them that. I'm just going to admit it. I enjoy the figure skating. You know what? I was crushed that the quad god could not close escrow and bring the gold to the United States. I was a little dismayed by that. I kind of like the way he handled it, though. Kind of was yeah. I disappointed everybody. I feel bad about that. I'll be back. I kind of like that. I don't necessarily like freestyle skiing, where you do jumps and tricks. I like the snowboard skiing, tricks, but not the skiing ones. Is there a reason for that? Is there a reason why I don't like that as much?
I don't know. But you know why I wasn't watching the Olympics, Jeremy?
Because you're not an American? Because you hate America?
Exactly. There was bigger news happening, Jeremy, in that the meme fest has been very active with I don't know how it's going to be economically feasible.
Okay.
But Sacramento State has joined the Maction, giving us the ball sack matchup presented by Dick's.
I did see that meme, and I did chuckle at that. What I didn't chuckle at was the desperate state of college football right now. The way the footprints of these conferences are getting stretched out of proportion. It's pretty miserable. And then you put that on top of the head football coach for Northern Illinois today, just bailing on the team and going, yeah, I'm going to accept a low-level NFL coaching job. Now, granted, I think he's going to be something like the highest-paid running backs coach in the NFL, which good for him. But does that say something to you about the state of college football right now?
I think Sac State was very desperate to get into a FBS conference. They would have paid however much to get in, almost Liberty-ish.
Yeah, I know they were trying to get into the Pac-12.
And good for them for finding somebody willing to take their money, because they are throwing a bunch of money. They have to pay flight
Yes.
for whoever's playing them. They have to pay for their flights out there to Sacramento State for like the next 5 years.
That's nuts.
I don't like the state of college athletics. We are very much on the cusp of going to 1A, 1AA again. Only in 1AA, you're playing almost D3 football for the love of the game. You get no NIL, but you get a good old expensive sheet of paper for your time, endeavors, bumps, and bruises. Whereas if you're in the P4 and one of the lucky ones, or you're a call up from the G6, then you get a little bit of cash.
Yeah, I don't like that either. I think it's really a disservice to the fans, right? Because and I was going to go through this as more of a parting shot, and I could probably still do that. But the more college athletics kind of detaches itself from the fans, the more the fans are going to detach themselves from college sports. Like when they can't keep a head coach from accepting a position from an NFL team, or when they can't like have a roster that they can root for 2 or 3 years, or if they're being asked to travel coast to coast to see their teams on the road. I mean, when you walk into like any kind of stadium now, there's a big QR code that says, "Hey, donate to the NIL." I mean, it's just constantly this environment that doesn't really think about fans at all. I mean, we're constantly paying more for sports broadcasting services. We're constantly being told to come to games, even when the product is inconsistent and not good. I just don't feel like college sports understands, in their race to get as much money out of it as possible. I don't think they understand that the money is coming from us. We're the ones that are generating this cash. And it's always like, well, we got to think about the athletes. We got to think about the schools. We definitely have to think about ESPN and their broadcasting rights. No one ever says, hey, maybe this is getting shittier and shittier for fans. And why is that, Tibbs? Why can't we have any agency in this? Why don't we have a voice?
We don't matter. And I really don't know the right answer to that. But it also bothers me, as much as the fans don't have a voice, the fans, don't have a consistent team to cheer for. Who's the all-time leading rusher or quarterback at Arkansas State?
That would be... Oh, God. Oh, you put me on the spot. I normally would know that. Arnold. I think his name is Arnold. Last name.
I don't believe you on that. But anyway, he was probably at that school for 3-4 years, and that's why he was able to set those records.
Yeah.
We're not going to see that anymore unless you start counting Ahmad Hardy's year at ULM and then his probable 2 years at Missouri.
Well, that's another thing, too. Look at the two quarterbacks that played for the national championship. One started his career at Cal, and the other started his career and actually won a national championship at Georgia. And now neither of those programs, or the fans, can't even really claim those guys. They can't be like, oh, man, good old Georgia product, Carson Beck. Or, oh, yeah, that's a good Cal man, old Fernando Mendez, or whatever his name is. They don't have that. It's just wild to me that there is no affiliation with these athletes anymore. Now, as fans, we're just saying, you got to root for the logo, guys. You got to root for the color scheme, because you can't root for the players because they might be gone because they don't have a stake in the team. I would like the athletes that I root for to have just as much skin in the game for the team as we do. And that's just not an environment we made. It's not the athlete's fault. We created this. And there has to be some way to bring that back.
Sounds like it's already plugged promos and parting shots, and we're just shooting.
Shooting the shit. I will say my parting shot is I'll make it quick. If we were to make reforms in college football, and I outlined this in an article for Hellraiser, the first thing you have to do is send a Terminator to 2014 and prevent the Power Five from taking over the NCAA and creating this autonomy era. The autonomy era is what has brought the entire college football and sports environment, atmosphere, community, whatever you want to call it, just brought them all down. Ever since that has happened, college sports has gotten worse. I can't think of anything that has gotten better since the Power Five, now the Power Four, declared autonomy. So if I were to make one big change, it would be starting with no more autonomy and its perks for the Power Four.
I'm going to do a selfless plug. Warhawk Report, the online site for ULM with the Warhawk Insider, the message board where you can chat with ULM fans and exclusive early access to Believe in the Warhawks, the leading podcast for ULM coverage.
Let me ask you this. What is the message board hot topic right now?
Everyone's a little concerned after leading Northwestern 8-3 going into the latter part of the game and then losing 13-10 and trying to calm the nerves and let them know it'll be all right. We definitely got the bats. We got the runs. Ooh, that didn't sound good.
You shouldn't have the runs. I will say this, though. Now, is ULM or the fans expecting a pretty good baseball season this year?
Yeah, I think that Montgomery is a huge accomplishment. And I know people are like, really, that's it? It just means you got to be a top 10. Haven't been in like 3-4 years. So, yeah, getting to Montgomery is the first step and really showcasing that the program's headed in the right direction. I definitely think Ford Pemberton's the right guy. I think there's the right pieces in place. He's just got to conduct the orchestra the right way to play the music.
Now, I don't want to elevate your blood pressure, or I don't want you to pass out during the podcast, but there's 7 seconds left in the Troy UL Monroe game, and Troy's up 77-76. I don't know who has the ball. Troy has called a timeout. That's some drama right there. So, you and I should probably get to the TV and watch that, right?
Sounds like a plan. And then they can hit me up on the DMs or whatever on FunBelt PC or Warhawk_report to drop in the DMs and say, hey, congrats on the win, or yeah, you lost again.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.